Hi and welcome to another session about materials nodes for Cycles Render. Today we are going to create multicolor pencils. I will today also do like this, that the first part of the video will be just how to create basic pencils without adding something that makes them realistic. But you will know how the nodes work. And if you want them realistic, then just continue to phase 2 or session 2, and I will then add nodes to make it realistic. Okay, but the first will be just basic. So we start right away. We delete this box, and instead we add a cylinder. So Shift A and then select the cylinder. Since this will be the base of the pencil, it should only have 6 sides. So we change here. So it has 6 sides like now, and then we should make it a little bit longer than this. So just press Tab and select the face in the bottom is okay, and then just G set to go down until you have reached a reasonable height. Okay. Now, when I have seen people doing pencils on YouTube, almost everyone says that this is the end. This is the final result for the base. 6 sides, and that will be enough. But if you do it like that, you will not have anything realistic in the end, because those are too sharp. We need to make them softer. So we will, in this case, go to the object mode and add a modifier and a bevel. And it's just to put like 2 segments here. Suddenly we have a more realistic shape of the base, because we really need this soft area here. And it will also be more easy for the nodes afterwards to get the correct color on these parts. So never forget that, and since we will work with it, we press apply. Okay? Next thing we will do is that part that we sharpen. So we go to Shift A, Mesh and Cylinder once again, but in this case it will be 32 sides. And then we go to Tab and just take it down a little bit. Select that one and G set, go down like, I don't know, like that, something. Okay, and we could also scale it up a little bit here, and we could remove that part. So, okay, and this will be the tip of it, so it should be rather small, but not completely gone. So, can scale it down until that, okay. And we could now make it a global local. So view global local, and now we only have this. To add 3 lines here, lead and wood, okay. And I think we should have 3 lines. So we go back to global local, and what we are going to do now is combining these. So before doing that, we have to do a little bit more with this shape. So select edges if you don't have it, Alt and extrude, E set to go up, and just do a face here, so F, okay. Now you can see it's the dark side, so we have the normals on the wrong side. So just select everything by pressing A, go to shading UVs, and then recalculate, and then we will get everything correctly here. Okay, so out again. Now I will use build tools. If you don't have build tools activated, it's rather easy. You just go to File, User Preferences, and Add-ons, and you start to write bool, and then you will get the bool too. So just cross that or check that, and then save user settings, and then you're good to go. Okay. Now be sure that you select this part first, and then the pencil, and then press difference. And now you will have a perfect pencil here. And if you press tab, you will now see that we have this part that is the base, we have that part that is the wood, and we have that part that is the lead. So if we go back again to object mode, we will now start building 3 different materials for the same object. Okay? So start with a node editor, select node editor here, and select material here. And we start with a new one that we call lead. So we write lead here and press enter like that. And then we should have another one. So we press plus here and new, and that one will be the wood. And then we will have the third one, new, and we could call that base material. Base material, so like this. And now we start to work a little bit. We can start with the wood. And to make wood, I normally use a texture called wave. So a wave texture. We also need some colors for that one. So we should have one input for one wood color, and can duplicate it, Shift D, and then Shift A, and have a color mix RGB. We put those together and connect the color to the color. And how much of that one and how much of that one we can use is something that we decide using the wave texture. So we connect the wave texture to here, and we can look at the preview. And as I said before, I will just do the basic stuff right now, so I'm not doing all those fine tunings, just so you see how it works. Okay? So some wood color here. I could have some reddish, something more yellow, a little bit less of that one, I believe. Go up. Okay, now it's almost pink. Like, I don't know, something like that. Not too much work on that one. Have to go on. And rings could have less of a scale, something like that, some distortion, some detail, and detail scale, and so on. Yes, so we have something. Okay, let's say that the wood is now finished. Of course it's not, we will do a lot more, but let's say it is. Okay, then we have the lead. The lead will be the tip here. So that is very easy to do, it's just a gray thing. If we are not going to use multicolor, which we will today. So we will have like 9 pencils, and everyone or almost everyone should have a different color but using the same material. So how to approach that? What we will do is use a converter color ramp and connect that color ramp to the diffuse. And when we're doing that, we will create the different colors here for the different pencils. So make like, I don't know, 8, 9 of these, put them rather close to each other. The last one should not be completely at the stop, it's like that. And then we just roll them up so we get an even spread of these. Okay. Nothing fancy, just that one. And then we start coloring those, and we can start just by using yellow and then just go around the wheel. So next will be like green, and the next will be brighter and like turquoise, I think it's called in English, and this will then be blue, it looks like. We have pink and purple and some red and some orange and perhaps also a black pen. And now you can see you can make those a little bit so we have some area about between them. So okay, now you see the colors are a little bit blurred, and that is not very good when we're doing the pencils. We want straight colors, so just go to linear and select constant instead. Now you have different colors. We can see here that perhaps we have run too much, so just press minus on that one. It doesn't matter, just so we have some different colors here, okay? Now we should do the base material as well. And since the tip here and the base material always should be the same, the best would be to just copy this one, okay? So I think we take away the base material here and we take that, press plus here, and now we select the lead, but it should not be the lead, it should be something else because they will have different type of glossiness and so on. So we have already used the word base material. I don't want to use that again, so just call this surface or something. Sorry, need to press the plus first. So back again, lead was okay, so that we will use, but now we press plus, and now we can write like surface, okay? So now we have lead, wood and surface. Let's say that we should do like 9 pencils. Then every pencil should have a different color here. So how to achieve that? Then we can use something called object info. So input object info, and on object info we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different settings that we can use. And if we want different things, the logical choice, I believe, would be random, but we will have a problem using that later on. We could use it just to see what happens, so you understand the problem. So we go to input here as well, and object info, and we put it in random here, and we put it in random here, okay? So now we have one lead and one surface. They are looking exactly the same right now. So next thing we should do is apply those materials on this one. So we press edit mode, so we go in here, and now we are first of all going to do some fine adjustments, and that is why I have those 3 lines. So I take that last line, press Alt to select everything, and then G twice to let it glide. And then I just go down a little bit here, like this, very, very near the edge, but not on it. And then I press Ctrl R, and I will do another one, like about somewhere like here. And I will also select every one of these, pressing Alt, and then I will do tools, I will subdivide, and finally I will take faces, Alt and the top, and then S just a little bit like that, I believe. It's more so you see that you have difference between the lead and the colors here, because that also will add some realistic things. And you can see it's not perfect here, and that is really good, because that is what we don't want perfect, we want imperfect. We want things that are not exactly correctly, because we have sharpened this by hand and it will be differences, so it should be like this, okay? And we will do the same adjustments here. So we go back again, and now we can make another one here, I believe. It's like this. And now we should make the lead go in a little bit, so scale just a tiny bit and let it go down, so G set like that, out just a little, not much, but you will notice it, you see, you will notice this. You see there's a line between the wood and the lead, okay? And finally the tip here will be more round, so take away the face, and now we just select the edges and do some extrude, scale, extrude, and scale, and an F like that, and you will get a round, nice tip. So now we have a realistic shape on this pencil, and that is good. We can use that later on. Okay? Now it's time to add the material on that one, because now everything is okay. The surface is mainly almost a complete pencil. So we start with selecting surface, and then A twice if you don't make it with one, to select everything, and then assign the surface to this one. Next will be the wood, so A again to deselect everything, then select faces, and you will now see through the pen if you click here. So to select everything, just press C, and you go through like this. And don't forget that this part here should also be belonging to the wood, because the wood will go up a little bit. So to do that, you can press the numpad 5 to get an orthographic, and view front. It's easier to see in that case, okay? So, and then C again, and let's paint this part so it's really painted like that. I can do check. Yes, looks okay. And then you just make assign to the wood. So now we have the wood there. And the final thing you will do is the lead. So A to deselect, and then C, and don't forget the tip, and assign that to the lead. Okay? So now we go out, we press rendered, and you will see we have a pencil, an orange pencil. So now it's more interesting to see how will it look when we have like 9 pencils. So we do 9 pencils. So press solid and go to modifier, add modifier, and array. Make it a little bit distance between them. We can make like 3 different pencils like that, and add another array. We change the X to 0 and the Y to 1.2. Then we have on that direction as well, and we can put 3 like that. Now we have 9 different pencils. So what will happen when we press rendered? Everything is orange, but we have 9 different pencils, so why does not random work? That is because if we go to solid, we still just have one object. We need to make 9 different pencils out of this. So the first we do is just press apply and apply. Still we have one object, but it's easily fixed. So just press A until everything is selected. Then P, and you select by loose parts. And now every one of these are their own object. Okay? What we now have to do is select all these pencils here. So I just go out, press B and select them. I don't need a sun, so that one I deselect. But all the pencils, I believe, are now selected. So, and we should make an origin on all of these. So just select object, transform, origin to geometry. And now everyone has their own geometry and origin. Okay? If we now press render, yes, now we get different colors on every pencil. Looks great. Or does it? That one looks fine. That one looks fine. That one, yes. Everything looks perfectly okay. That's good. But I expected that we could have some problem here. Because since it's random, it could be that that part doesn't match this part. So I'm thinking that we should do it in another way, just to be certain and to control this thing a little bit better. So what we're going to do now is just a little bit of change in this. So we go to Solid again and select one of these and select Material. Here we have random, as I said, and we have surface, also random. And random, it sounds very random. So I'm certain that in some points it could be that the tip and the surface here will be different. So we have to be certain that everything is working as it should. So what we can do is use object index instead. So we can connect object index here, and we can connect object index here. But if I now press rendered, you see that all of these are orange, which we don't want. We want all of these colors. Okay? So what we have to do is to decide that this should be number 1, this should be number 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and 9, and so on. So that we will do. So we can just see how you have cylinder 1, and you have like 8 cylinders, because that one is also cylinder. So the numbers 1 to 8, and the first one will be cylinder 0, so to say. 9 in total. Okay? So we go to every one of these, and in that we go to this here, and here we have relations with path index. So what we have is path index here, which will be the same as object index here. So if I name this to 0 as it is, and the next one to 1, and the next one to 2, and 3, and now it's easier to write it down. So just 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and press render here, we can see that, okay, we have 1, 2 different, but not all of them. So what is wrong now? Well, object index is now 0 to 9, but this input here only uses 0 to 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on is not used. what we have to do is put a math here between. So Shift A, converter, math, and a divide, and we can put the value here of 9. And now we get different points here, okay? And we can do the same on this surface. So object info, a value, I believe 9 is correct. Yeah, we keep it to 9. And we go to material, surface. Now we have object index here, and converter, math, divide, and like a value 9. Okay, now we have changed everything. And this means that, let's say now that we would like to have 2 blue here, for instance, then we just change the path index on that one to be the same as on this one. So it's very easy to decide what color you want. We said that this one was blue, okay? So just check it out. It's 7. Okay, then change that one to 7 as well if you want to do that. And when you render, you have 2 below. So it's very, very easy to decide how many you want of each one. You just steer it here and it steers from the object info. You control it by the object index here. So that is 2 ways to do it. And random is good to use for the wood here, because then we can have slightly different type of woods. So if we go to the wood, there we have 2 colors right now, but we could make them a little bit different. So just add a converter, a color ramp, with something here that is some like that, and this could be just a hint of this like that. And then instead of the color here, you can connect the color there, and now it's good. And then just add object info here. So input object info and use the random. And then you get different kinds of colors here, and you can do the same on this one here. So can copy this one, and you can use the same random number to have a pattern that works together. So take away this one and connect it to it. Since we use the same random number, these will also be the same, so you have to change a little bit. You can do it in different ways. You can do it like this. You can see now it's starting to work here. Or you can just change the color, or you could add a bright contrast here. And then everything will be fine. So, now you have the basic pencils in different colors. And this one works very well for as a start. Then we have all those things that we have to add to make it look realistic, and that we will take in part 2. Welcome to part 2 of my tutorial. Now we're going to the advanced settings of the nodes and also light and so on until we get a realistic end result here. What I've done is added a material as we had it in the picture, so instead of me going through every one and changing, I will go through everyone, but just explaining what they're meaning. So in that case, we get a little bit shorter video, and I think you will understand how everything should be anyway. Okay, so what I will do now is to add some light using an HDRI image as normal. And what we have is HDR Haven, a very good spot, and if you want to, just be a patron to this guy so he can continue work. I use the Chiara interior for this one, so I click on that one, and then I selected this, but you could select whatever you want. Everything is depending on how good result you want, and of course the one in the top will have a better result, and so on. So just download it, you find it here, Chiara interior, and then we go back to Blender. So we go to Word, use Nodes, Environment Texture, open, and find it in your Mac machine, a computer, and I will find it here. Okay, now we have a good amount of light here, so we can start working. And we should also have some background image, or background, not background image. This is more for the light, but we should have a plane or something in the background as well, so we can fix it in a good way. So we start with View, Camera, and now we can press N and select Lock Camera to View, so we get a good starting point for our pencils here, which will be, I don't know, like this. And we select solid here, and then the pencil in the middle. We can take away that light, I think that was because it was so bright. And select that one, Object, Snap, Cursor to Selected. Here we will just add a cylinder, check so you have 32 sides, and scale it up really much like that. Could take it down a bit, scale it even more, and Object, Apply, Scale. Okay, now they're completely inside this one. So View, and go to Front like that, and go to Edit Mode, select A like this, and be sure now so you don't have this setting. It should be this setting instead. So View Front, and select C, just drag like this, and press Delete Faces, and then I can select that one, select one, and delete faces. And we can make this even bigger, so just scale it up even more. Good. Now we go back again. We could go back here, and we could change shader to flip direction. Then we have the correct direction here. Okay. You could select Smooth. We have a need of material here. What I will do is select a material that will dampen the light, so it will be a lower amount of light. So I select Material, New, call it like Background, and instead of Diffuse I will select Velvet like this. And if I now run a render, you could see that we now have a background, and if we use View Camera, we could now lock camera to view and just rotate so we get a good view of it, like that. Okay. Take away the camera, and we will go through the nodes one by one. So, go to solid, will work faster, and select the pencil, and we will check the top first, the lead part, and see how that one looks. As you remember, we used the color ramp to select the color here. We divide it. In this case, I will divide it by 11. Could be 9 as well. It's a little bit depending on how many you have and what you have named the pass index to when it comes to the number. And we connect it to the object index. And these things I have already explained before, so I will not go into those. You could put these, you don't need my exact number here. You can just try it until you find a good color, so you can change the colors as you want to, so it's no problem. Okay? And the next thing we are doing, we are talking about the lead a little bit, and if I now go to rendered, that means the top here. And I'm not sure that you can see it, but as I said before, when you make a pencil like this, it's vital that, or any object for that instance, it's vital that you do very, very small changes in the material. We have, of course, the bumps, as you can see here, but it should also be small changes in the color. So what I've done here is I have taken the color that we have, make it a little bit darker, and use a noise to spread it evenly around. So if I take this down really much, you can see now that we have a difference here, we have difference here, and so on. And if I render, you will see it very, very clearly, so you cannot have that. So keep it like this. The contrast will it doesn't matter so much, so you can just keep it as it is. And then we have a rather high scale because we have not done any small pencils in this case. They are really, really big, it's several meters, so you cannot use them at all in the normal scale, so you have to scale it up a lot. And the next thing you can do is look at the glossiness, and that is just that color connected with glossy. And I also add a layer weight connected to facing to get a good spreading between the diffuse and the glossy. So it's just to put in correct amount of the glossy, and I've used the default value here, so it's not much to see. And that is all there is to the color of the tip for the pencil. So the only thing that remains is the bumps. When I was looking at the reference picture, the bumps was always going like almost straight lines, but they loosen some lead when we sharpen the pencil, things fall off. And it may be that I have done this a little bit too much, but when you render, it looks okay, so I keep this value here. And what I've done is using a wave texture, and the wave texture is making the straight lines. So if I go down like this, using that one, you can see that it is just straight lines, and then I combine that with a rather lot of noise. And so, as you can see, I use a very high scale here, and that is a little bit, as I said before, we are making very large pencils. They are several meters high right now in that way we have built them. So it's not completely following standard, if you understand what I mean. But you can compensate it by having a rather high scale. Could be that it's better to shrink them a bit, but that is not how I did this. So you can play for yourself if you want to. Mostly noise and sound wave, so I mix it together. And then I set the strength for the bumps. So if you think it's too high, you could change the distance or strength a little bit, and then you will get lesser bumps on this one. And finally, you connect the bumps both to the glossy and to the diffuse, and then mix it, and out will come the lead color, including the bumps. Okay? Then we go to the wood here. So I will select the wood, and right now we can look at that. I think wood here is the most complicated thing, and let's see if I can start by explaining it easily here as well. As we started in the basic session, we had a random color for the wood, and in this case I have used one random color between rather light yellow and almost white, and I used the same color but a little bit darker in the areas here. And the reason for that is, I think you can see it better here if I go up a little bit, is because I use that darker color with that one and blend them with the noise texture, and by that it's bleeding out like this on the wood, which make it less predictable to see the pattern. It also looks a bit nicer when you do the final rendering. And then I take those two colors, mix them with the noise, and put it in diffuse, but then we only have that part. So we also need the other part, the yellow part here, and that we get it from here. So I have another random color here for that one that I mix to this diffuse, and then I use that diffuse and just mix them together. And then you have all the waves that you get from the wood, and by using the noise as I showed before, you will get a little bit changing here and a softer variations. And then you just mix it with the glossy and put it not so much glossy since it's wood, so could be like this, and just layer weight, and in this case I will use Fresnel instead of facing. I have found out that facing, it works very well when it comes to things like plastic or that kind of surface, but wood has a more not so quite another type of material, and then Fresnel works best. Okay, so then we have the colors, and then we also need to have the bumps here, and the bumps, they're following a little bit the same pattern as the colors. We use a wave texture to get those waves because it's wood. We use some noise as well to make them a little bit less nice, so to say, or a little more rough. Okay, And then we mix the noise and wave texture with the color mix, and we put that into the bump. And the bump must be on the diffuse for the both diffuse here. Should really be to the glossy also. Forgot that before. So now every shader has its connection, I believe. Okay, then we have corrected it. And then you put a distance for it to get the bumps and strength, and then you're finished. And you can go out and get the colors and get the bumps. So normally I always work like this, that this part here is the shape or the bumps or the scratches, and the upper part always is the colors for me. You can of course do as you want, but it feels like that is a natural way to have it. So that is how I have thought when I made the wood. Then we have the pencil, the base for it, and here we have some different things to look at. You may remember in the beginning that I said that we should have a little more polygons here, and as you can see, the result will be that you have a little bit more darkness in this one. And here you have on those areas where you are likely to touch the pen more, which is the edges here, you have a little less color. And you also have some variations on those, so they are not quite straight. And that is a little thing we are doing up here, and I will explain how that is done. Otherwise, we only have some bumps on it. You can see it here, and that one is not that good, but you can see here that you have some bumps, and you have long streaks here on the pencil, because when you work with the pencil, when I look at the reference picture, I can see that the colors, they are always cracking a little bit on the same, like in long streaks like this. So I add that into the pencil as well. Since we're running this, it's rather hard to see since it's not quite rendered, it's just in rendering view, but you will see it later on. Okay, so let's go through it. That part here with object, divide, color ramp, that is exactly the same as the LED. There's no difference at all. Then we have that part which make it darker here and lighter here and so on, and that is controlled by the input geometry. So you find it by selecting search input, and then you can find geometry here. That one has something called pointness, and pointness is controlling how much of the color that should be used. So you put the color ramp here, and by changing these values you can decide if it should be much color or it should be just a little bit of color where we uses a lot of polygons, or where the edges bend a lot, so to say. So if they bend much, then we have less color. If they don't bend so much, then we have a higher amount of color. If you invert those, it will be quite the opposite. So now you can see that we have darker here instead of lighter. So you can always play with them and try to find something that works fine for you. And it's also depending on how much color you want all over. So if you go here, you have really much color, and if you take it a little more that direction, you see it fades away. So if you think it's too bright in colors, you can take it to the left, and if it's too high, then take it the other way around. Okay? Then I don't want this part here to go just straight down, it should be some variation. So we have some awareness here as well, and so on. And that we do with the noise texture here. So by combining the pointness with the noise texture, we get some variation in the surface, which is good, because then we don't get this perfect pencil. So we have some variations, and that we need. Okay? So we mix that together with the color that we got from the earlier session that we built. So then we have that mix, and we mix it with another color. In this case, I just have done it a little bit yellow, because I think the wood is a little bit yellow in its original. So by putting yellow, you can see the wood when you have taken the colors away, so to say. Then you see the wood behind it. So I mix a wood color with the color we get from the surface. Okay, and here is just to make a major control that we easily can add or take away a little bit of the color, so we can steer it. Okay, and that one we should have in the LED as well to get exactly the same color, and I think I forgot that one, so you can see LED, we don't have it. We should have it here, so we use the same. So just put in that color, bright contrast here, and then we can take this one down a bit, so now it's a little bit less, which make this darker. We can do the same with the surface, so we have taken that one down, and it's a little bit darker. And as I said, if you don't think that these things matches perfectly with the pencil and this part here, that is in that case because of the color ramp here. So then just adjust it a little, so we get almost the same amount of color on the top and as in the bottom, so that you can play a little bit with to make that one and that one the same. Okay, and that is all. Then we have made the nodes. What we have to do now is more to make the pencil look okay by using light and so on. So we should also put them in something. So we can start by that. So if I go to solid again, we still have the cursor selected in the middle. So we just Shift A, make a cylinder, scale it up, so we can have all these pencils inside, and put it down. I don't know, we can see in the camera, view camera. Could have it like that, I believe, something like that. And object and scale. Apply scale. So we should, of course, not have anything in the top. So tab, face, take that one away, faces, and we could go back and then go to modifier and add some solidify to this one as well, so we have some thickness and also some bevel. Okay, so now we have that, and in my picture I didn't bother to do so much about this one. I just added a material, called it can, and added a glossiness into this one. Shift, shader, glossy, shader, mix. Put them together, rather shiny and very dark with the diffuse. So I did like something like that, and then I just added input Fresnel here and connected it, and input layer weight. And also could go down even more and go up. Yeah, so I didn't do anything more on this. Now we are going to have this pencil spread all over. So one easy way to do it is to go to the front, view front, and do this. This we can make, we can just drag it down a little bit. And now we just press, let's see so we don't mess things up here. Just select them all. So take, press B and then do like that. But we don't want that selected, and we don't want that selected. I think we only have these things selected now. So G, set, and go up with these a little bit. Okay? And then we make them in physics, add active. And that one we made passive. And we also change a little bit here, because yeah, and that's good. We should have a mesh. Just be certain that you have mesh here and not convex hull, because if you have convex hull, these will not go through, because it's like a shape around the cylinder. But if you have the mesh, it follows the cylinder completely, so then it will be a hole. So mesh here. You could also take up the margin a bit, so like that. And now when you press, those will go down and will be a little bit spread like this. Okay. So now you have it, and if you look at the camera, view camera, we could just move it a little bit so it looks okay, and we can take this down a little like that and make it rendered like this. And now we have our pencils, so we can save before continuing, because now we are going to add some additional light to this. So I will add should take that one away. Lock camera to view. Click so we don't destroy anything. Okay. I would like to have some light here, so we separate that one, and it would also be good to have some light here, because that light will then make the bumps and reflection look even better. So we will do two planes here. So I just go to solid and Shift A, mesh, plane, scale it up, something like that. Even more perhaps. Object, apply, scale. And we would like to have that one about here. So GX perhaps, and then GY, rotate it a little bit. Move it so you have something like this. and view camera. And now we should have a plane here. There, you see it, and material on the plane. So we press new, and the material should of course be emission. And now you see we get some light from this one. We could also, in this case, before doing anything more, change the type. Now we're working with a realistic material, so as most of you know, we can do some change settings here. So in this one, about the scene, you have something called color management, and in color space we have filmic. And in the view, we could set filmic here as well. And when you have filmic here, you can have a look, and you can select like a base contrast or something like that. Then the colors here will more reflect the real world. Okay, so going back again to the plane, have the material here, then you can see you can get more vivid colors by adding a little more light here. Okay, so now we've done that, but this part looks very dull, so we should have a light on this side as well. So we go to solid, and we select that, and just shift D and copy it, and then just grab it, move it over here, and do some rotation on it. And it's almost, to get a good backlight or rim light, you should have it behind these. So we will put it behind this. So I'll set perhaps there, move it here a little bit, go down like that, perhaps move it a little bit like this, and view camera, and we put render. And now we see that it's rather strong here, so we can take that one up. So we press plus, and we can call this rim light, and we can take it down, I think like this. But we also see this plane here, and we don't want to see that. I don't know if you have seen my other sessions, but if you have, you know that we can hide it and still be able to show what it shows. So we go to this part here, have that one selected, be careful and see that you have it, and we go down to cycle settings. We hide it from the camera, but you still have the shadows here, as you can see, so we have the hide the shadows as well. And now if we go close to this one, you see that we got a nice rendered light here, but we can't see the light source because it's hidden from the camera. Okay, so now we have everything we need, and the next step is just to render it. So we go to render, and in my example here, I will render with very, very low amount of samples, just so we can get the render done. When you do it, you can, of course, do it a little bit maybe with more samples, of course. Okay, so now we have soon rendered everything, and now only thing we have to do more is some compositing. So go up to this part here and select compositing, use nodes, backdrop, auto render. And as I've said before, auto render works very nice, but in that case, if you want to use auto render, you should have a completely rendered picture from the beginning. Then we can add a glare filter, and we could add a color balance. Okay, so if I change something here, it will immediately be changed here. So let's say I go to threshold 0, you will see it really shines almost too bright. I will use Ghost here just a little bit, or sorry, Fog Glow. I will use Fog Glow to get a more soft thing, but not with threshold 0. That's way too much. So perhaps I go up a little bit, like with 0.3. And now I can just adjust the colors as I want to. So could be that I would like to have it a little bit darker here. Could also perhaps change it so I can get it a little bit more yellowish like this. That could be a little bit too much, so I go back a little bit, even darker in behind like that. You can of course steal a lot of that before the compositing by changing the light sources, both on the HDRI. I don't know if I showed you that before, but in the Word you have the strength here, and the strength you can lower, and then everything will be less lit. So that's one way to do it. The other way is, of course, to change the emissions. Okay, now you can see that we have everything finished, and you can see the bumps that I was talking about before, and you can see that we got a really nice color on the wood here, and it looks really natural. And also, if looking a little bit closer, you can see that we have small variations here, which makes it look more realistic. So now we're finished and have a good result of the pencils that we would like to do, or that we should do and did. So now it's finished. So if you like this session, would like to know when I do my next one, just subscribe to my channel, and I will see you later on, and hope that you learn something even this time. Okay, thank you and bye.